back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. It's your business to know what the heck's going on when it comes to the government and our money. And one big area that remains unfinished business is Freddie and Fannie. And, they began working on it 5 years ago, the government did, trying to fix it up. And guess what? They largely made it worse. What a shock. And so I've got James Gattuso on. He's with the Heritage Foundation, one of the country's premier think tanks, to tell me, to explain to me what in the world is going on and why it's such a mess. Welcome as always, James.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, always glad to have you on. So real quickly, what in the world is going on?
Well, for 5 years, we have had Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in federal conservatorship. These are two companies that are government-sponsored enterprises. They were supported implicitly by the federal government in case they would lose any money, and they lost a bundle over the housing crisis. So they were put in conservatorship 5 years ago last Monday. And basically have been frozen there in place during that time. They were completely ignored by the Dodd-Frank re-regulation bill, which supposedly was meant to prevent any more financial crises from happening. And only now is Congress beginning to take a look at them. Now, what members of Congress say is that they didn't want to move while the housing market was in dire straits. The housing market is recovering now, and Fannie and Freddie actually are starting to make money again. But now the opponents of reform are saying the opposite. Rather than saying that we can't move because the housing market is doing badly, now they're saying, well, the housing market is doing well. Why interrupt something that is working?
And I even hear about the possibility that the government could get out of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac entirely.
That's right, and that's a debate that's happening on Capitol Hill right now. There are a couple of bills pending. The strongest one is by Congressman Jeb Hensarling from Texas, who is proposing essentially elimination of Fannie and Freddie and a replacement by a largely private market, not entirely free of federal influence. But
hey, let me ask you, what is entirely free from federal
That's right. None of us are, really.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you, a stand-up comic? Come on. So anyway, go ahead.
Now, the competing proposal, which is sponsored in the Senate, really, would eliminate Fannie and Freddie, but replace them with similar institutions that would also have a federal guarantee. So that bill, would serve the purpose of casting Fannie and Freddie from the Garden of Eden, but it would leave us with the same problem with the institution with a new name.
Garden of Eden. So what do you want listeners to be aware of when it comes to the situation with it?
Well, I think that we're going to, as this debate proceeds, we're going to see a lot of scare tactics. There are a lot of special interests that have a stake in the housing market. Real estate agents, mortgage companies, financial companies of all kinds. And they frankly benefit from federal support and federal backstops in the housing market. In the long run, heck, not in the long run, in the short run even, all of this interference hurts consumers, distorts the market, which means that housing is not as widely available as it should be. Mm-hmm. But the interests are so entrenched and have been receiving these benefits for so long. It's something that will be fought at every turn. But,
yeah, it's interesting. I had a conversation with a young liberal friend of mine, and he said, if you stop doing stuff like that, that's going to create riots. And I was like, yeah, doesn't that tell you how pathetic our society has become when we do government action in order to appease an entitled people that might become violent if we stop doing it? And he's right. I mean, just look at Greece. Just look at Europe. We've done something wrong in our public policy when we create a culture that will lead to that.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely true. Housing is a hot button issue. It's something that hits people literally where they live. It's something that is for most people the major investment of their lives, and they are very skittish about any of that changing. But with Fannie and Freddie, we had $180 billion of federal funds put at risk to support these institutions. And that was on the back end of the crisis. At the front of the crisis, they share probably more blame than any financial institution for setting the stage for the crisis to occur.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, here they are pressuring banks that have no business giving loans to certain types of people based on their financial situation, not their skin color or anything else, just their financial situation, forcing them to do so, creating the foreclosures, creating the crisis. It was a government-created crisis. And really, if in the economic school of thought that I gravitate towards, which is Austrian, every boom and bust is government-created anyway.
I am agnostic on whether boom and bust would exist in a private marketplace. But what I am confident of is that the private sector learns from its mistakes.
Mm-hmm. That's right, and so they're not nearly as big, and they're not nearly as long lasting.
That's right. That's right. And the federal government seems to thrive on its mistakes. A regulator or an agency that messes up big time gets a bigger budget the next year.
You get the impression they're in the mistake business, and boy, are they good at it. All right, James.
They seem to sell your first hand and they like it.
That's right, James Gattuso. He's with the Heritage Foundation. Always enjoy having you guys from Heritage on the program. The gals from there as well. You all do a great job. James, you can learn more about him at heritage.org. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you the best content here shows up over there at usatoreview.com. While there, make sure you like it on Facebook. Follow it on Twitter.